So today I'm going to share how to start an AI acquisition rollup. Now, I don't care where you're at, forget about building from scratch. In 2025, the smartest founders, entrepreneurs, business owners aren't inventing the next big thing from zero. They're acquiring profitable, cash flowing businesses and layering on AI and software on top of businesses to grow faster than anything or anyone else that I've ever seen. Now, you don't need to be a software engineer to do it. What you need is a clear strategy, a proven playbook, and the ability to move fast once you've got some momentum in this. Now, in this video, I'll break down exactly how you can start your own, what we call AI-powered acquisition rollup from scratch. And I'll show you in the process how we supported few of those rollups with deals, due diligence, and capital. Now, those are not theories. This is a real strategy built from the trenches by someone who was involved in more than $1 billion worth of deals at this point. So let's get to it. Lesson number one is that the reason acquisition rollups are the new startup. Let me share you why I think that. So let's start with the big idea. I think that a lot of acquisition rollups are going to replace traditional startups. Why? Because you can skip the riskiest, hardest part of a business, which is building something people want, or what we call getting product market fit, because it's already proven when you buy a business, the product market fit is there. So instead of spending 6 to 18 months on average to build a product, hoping to find product market fit and burning investor money and of course your time, with those acquisition rollups alongside AI, you acquire a business that already works. It has customers, cash flow, and operations in place. You're walking into a real company with real people and real profits from day one. Now, here's the key, in my opinion. In 2025, AI gives you a new layer of leverage in business, because you don't just acquire and operate, but you add intelligence. If it's adding AI scheduling, AI automated customer communication, or adding AI predictive maintenance analytics. I don't care what business you're going to buy, especially if it's the old school ones from baby boomers, AI makes your business more scalable. And you can do it with fewer people and with higher margins. And because those boring businesses, we can target them. They're often operating decades behind in everything tech. A lot of those baby boomers, they still do their business. Their CRM is their notebook. So they're very much behind in tech. So even small upgrades can give you huge ROI in those businesses. Just think about it. A single piece of software, let's say improving something like route optimization, if you improve it by 15%, it can directly raise your margins and go all down to your profit bottom lines. And 15% on top can create at least 20, 30% on the bottom line. Because it's less employees, less headaches, less ongoing expenses. And when you do that, you're not a tech founder trying to hit escape velocity anymore from scratch, reaching product market fit, like trying to become the next Airbnb or the next Uber, which is one out of few millions that might make it. But you're a business owner, entrepreneur that is going out there and stacking cash from day one, and then you snowballing it through acquisitions. Which moves me to lesson number two, all about picking the right industry. And a lot of people immediately ask me, okay, so how do you pick the right industry for your roll-up? And here's what I suggest you to look for. You look for number one, fragmentation. So you want to see lots of small operators and no, you don't want to see one dominant national brand. Number two, ideally go for low tech adoption type businesses that are still using, like I said, spreadsheets or pen and paper sometimes. Number three, you want to find recurring revenue. So businesses that have customers pay monthly or quarterly to sustain and keep the product or service. Number four, something with operational simplicity. Avoid any categories with high regulatory or mechanical complexity, especially if it's your first deals. And if you want an example, let me give you an example, right? So something like pool services or lawn care or pest control or commercial cleaning, HVAC, plumbing, garage door repair, all these industries that I just mentioned, they have, first of all, tens of thousands of operators. Most of them are baby boomers and they look to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. These industries, they're all over the country. They often run by mom and pop shops. And many of them are at least 10 plus years behind in anything tech, like I said. It means that this is the opportunity, right? It means that you can bring modern systems, you can bring AI, you can bring marketing to a sector where even the basics are missing. And ideally, you want to have some level of familiarity if you go to those businesses, either from personal experience or from having worked with or in the space, ideally. Or if you don't have any experience, that's okay. We supported a lot of those deals. So there are ways to handle it, like bringing at least maybe one advisor or a partner with this knowledge and experience. You can't ignore that some domain knowledge gives you unfair advantage. Now, you don't have to be the expert yourself, but you should be at least curious enough to learn everything you can as fast as possible about the sector. Moves me to lesson number 3. Your first acquisition, if you want to do those AI roll-ups, your first acquisition is everything. That's your make or break one. Your first deal is the foundation for everything. If you mess this up, it doesn't just hurt, it can really poison your future pipeline. It can scare off investors if you're doing a bad job or buying the wrong company. And it can kill your momentum. You'll waste cash, you'll waste time, you'll burn cash, and potentially, if you do the first one wrong, you'll have to rebuild your reputation with sellers, with lenders. So what makes a great first acquisition? First, the seller, you want him to be trustworthy and you want him to want to help you win after you close the deal. You want to make sure the business is stable. Like I said, recurring revenue, loyal customers. You want to make sure the team is intact, or the founder at least is willing to stay with you for 6 to 12 months. And of course, you want to be able to finance the deal, ideally creatively. With those things I just mentioned, it's just to show you that doing deals, it's not just numbers game, it's people's game. The first seller that you work with is essentially going to be your business partner throughout all the transition. So you want someone who's honest, who you like, who you trust, who's motivated, who understand that you're going to be that right steward for their legacy. It's almost like you want to think about your first deal, like deal number one, like your first marriage. You don't want to get it wrong, right? You don't want to do too many. You only have one chance to do your first marriage, right? So anyway, lesson number 4. Structure deals with as limited capital upfront as possible. So let's say you don't have millions sitting in the bank. That's okay. Most people don't. even the richest people in the world, even Elon Musk bought Twitter using other people's money as well, right? No one's keeping all their money in cash, like most people that I know that have money. So the way it works is you negotiate in terms, and especially with AI implemented in your acquisition rollup, you can even raise money from VCs, from venture capital firms that usually only finance tech companies that wants to become like unicorns, right? So that's the beauty with those AI rollups. Here are some examples of how you can structure a deal without necessarily needing all the cash up front. So you want to always aim for some seller financing, ideally 40 to 60% of the deal valued, like you want it to be paid off time. Obviously, I'm talking about the ideal scenario, right? Ideally, as small payment as possible up front, ideally no more than 40 to 50%, especially if you raise, like I'll mention a deal later in the video on a case study where, especially if you raise a large chunk of money from VCs initially, you have access to capital. You want to pay no more than 40, 50% upfront if you're not using other conventional or SBA. I always, of course, suggest, if you can, bring in strategic investors. So people who can help you grow post-acquisition, or like I said, maybe you raise a bigger amount of money upfront if you have big enough pipeline of deals. So in some of the roll-up we supported, we went ahead and got 16 companies under LOI, then raised capital from VCs. Right? And remember, things like those different structures that I mentioned, or seller financing, it's not just about saving cash, it's to make sure that you're aligning incentives. If the seller believes in you and the future of the business, they're most likely to stay engaged and support you and answer questions and help you succeed, and not just run away as soon as they sell the business. In many cases, sellers actually prefer these structures because it offers also tax advantages and smoother transition. By the way, if you want us to support you and hold your hand in the process to do everything faster, to find deals, analyze deals, raise capital, we're going to put links below where you can book a call with us to see if we can help you and work with you in the process. Let's move to lesson number 5, which is you want to use organic and inorganic growth strategies. So most people stop at the acquisition. They think, okay, I just need to buy the business and that's it. That's where we start. So here are the two ways, two playbooks, let's say, right? You have the inorganic growth or external growth. That's where you acquire businesses, the acquisition growth. You acquire great businesses with existing customers and strong cash flow. Then number 2 is what we call organic growth or internal growth. That's where you add software, you add AI, you fix operations, you scale marketing, you grow revenue, you build systems, processes. So let's walk through an example, right? Let's say you buy a pool company doing 1 million a year in revenues. You keep the team, you upgrade the routing software, you plug in AI for scheduling and alerts. And let's say you launch like super hyper local SEO to fill empty routes. Suddenly, it becomes a 1.5 million business with better margins, very doable with software and AI and better marketing and sales and processes. Next, you go out there and you buy another similar business in the same city, you merge them together. Now you have density, right? That's where it becomes interesting, right? That's where you have better pricing power as well and operational leverage. You can introduce memberships. You can introduce upsells. You can find a way to maintenance contracts or give discounts for long-term contracts. That's where you start to layer some recurring revenue. Maybe you introduce your own private label products. This is how you create this flywheel and it starts spinning. You start with acquisitions, it's getting you in the game, but then operations and marketing and software and AI and systems, that's where it takes you to the next level. Which moves me to lesson number 6, all about team building and leveraging tech. So the best acquisition roll-ups, they invest in people, they invest in processes. Hiring people is probably the hardest thing you're going to do if you're going to scale. Training is harder. But with technology, you can build scalable systems that take pressure off, especially the frontline teams. So if you buy this, let's stay with the pool service company. If you're using 1099 contractors, you can't legally train them, but you can create accountability. So you can use retention data, tracking performance. You can monitor service quality with customer feedback. You can build internal scorecards and take action based on different metrics. With one founder I worked with, we used binomial analysis and regression, what we call, to identify those who are low performance before they churned customers, right? So you can spot those different patterns and fix issues before they even hit your bottom line, your profits. You can also use technology for onboarding, for dispatch, scheduling, inventory, customer support, of course, sales. You can get AI to summarize customer issues before your issues are even going to your support team. Right? That's how you create leverage in those businesses. And remember, like most of the competitors you're going to have, they're not using those things. That's where you can have your advantage right now before everyone knows about it. Which moves me to lesson number 7. Think like a long-term owner. Don't think like someone who, what we call a flipper. If you look at private equity firms, they want to flip businesses in 3 to 5 years. I suggest you look at businesses to own them for 5 to 15 years or 10 to 15 years. Why? Because long-term thinking, it lets you look at the business in a better way. It lets you invest in software with multi-year payoffs. It helps you build brand and SEO that compounds and not just thinking of short-term strategies. It helps you build real systems. This is how you create what we call a category leader in a business, in a sector. Because if you buy all those companies and you own the customer relationship, the team, the data, the infrastructure, you're not just valuable, you're basically irreplaceable for some of those clients. And if you then sell the business, you sell on your terms. You get enough cash flow, but you can sell on your terms if you want. Maybe to a strategic buyer, maybe you're even big enough to do an IPO, maybe you partner with a growth fund to scale nationally. But long-term thinking is what gives you those options. Let's go to lesson number 8. Let's talk about the multiple games or the valuation curve. And I'll explain in numbers. Let's say you buy a business doing $500,000 in profits, right? And you buy it for between 2 to 4 times multiples of, let's say, EBITDA, pre-tax profits. So that's, let's say, $1 million to $2 million purchase price, right? Between 2 to 4. And let's say with seller financing, you might only need 400,000 to 600,000 upfront. Depends on how you negotiate it. Now, let's say you grow that business, right? And you implement technology and AI and systems, and you grow it to $2 million in EBITDA and $10 million in revenues, right? And it's very doable. It's just few acquisitions and some good organic growth. And if you went out there and also created a brand, you built a brand, you built a system, you built a footprint, that's where you can start trading a business like that for 10 times to 20 times EBITDA or even more. Obviously, depends on where you're at, depends on how fast you grow, depends on who's the buyer, etc. So this is how we're talking about $20 to $40 million outcome. You buy a company at 2, let's say 3 times on average, you grow, you operate it, and you sell it at 15 times multiples. That's the arbitrage of implementing technology, of creating this operational excellence. And remember, it's repeatable. You don't need to hit a home run every time. You just need to compound those, what we call those base hits, right? So let's bring it all together with a real world example. There's an AI first plumbing roll-up that you should know about. It's founded in 2021 by Dan Laufer, who is an ex-Nextdoor product and growth leader guy. And he decided to, go and start a roll-up like that. He called it Pipe Dreams. And now they're building a future Ford home services empire. So in this roll-up, they noticed how many people were using Nextdoor to find HVAC and plumbing providers. And he saw that there's a huge opportunity. Tons of fragmented operators, retiring founders, and a bit of a tech vacuum. So he launched his company to acquire a lot of those companies. and it focused on keeping the legacy intact. It supercharged those businesses with AI and marketing. And the first deal was an efficient air service in the Bay Area. Since then, they've acquired 9 companies across cities like San Francisco and Denver. But here's what makes them different. They aren't just rolling up those companies, they're building tech. Their system, they power AI scheduling, marketing automation, skill-based technician matching. That last one, by the way, it helped them achieve 91% 5-star reviews across different platforms online. So they help legacy teams win with advanced digital marketing and systems, of course, that bring companies from analog to AI native. And that's what 2025 rollups are going to be all about. Right? This company raised $25 million from top tier investors, VC investors, like Canvas Ventures, Plural. They've raised, this was just last year that they raised that money. They actually raised $39 million in total. And each deal on average cost them about $1 to $2 million. And they serve roughly 1,000 customers each year annually. So with 9 acquisitions, Pipe Dreams serves around 10,000 households in general and generates tens of millions in revenues after all those acquisitions. And here's the kicker. They've doubled revenue across most of those acquisitions in less than 24 months organically, just from implementing better tech and systems. That's the power of tech and AI in this case in acquisitions, right? You do those acquisitions, you implement tech, and that's where the beauty is going to lie in the future. So here's the full summary, the full roadmap. Number 1, big fragmented service-driven industry. Number 2, buy your first cash flowing business. Use traditional financing methods or VCs if you have big plans for a large roll-up, like we mentioned. Number 3, use software, AI, and marketing to scale it. 4, repeat the process, stack acquisitions in the same region to start with, and think long-term. Number 5, think long-term, build a brand, create density, increase those margins so you can have more cash flow, more profits to use for more acquisitions and operational excellence. So I hope you found this valuable. Drop a comment if you did, perhaps with the industry that you're looking to go for in your first acquisition or roll-up. And yeah, let's hopefully build something big together. Who knows? I might invest in your deal as well. So hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.